The Skyship and the Storm Queen. Above the silver rivers of the sky, mighty ships chase thunder and secrets. But today, a Lyra windrider will sail into the storm itself, where the Storm Queen waits. Will a song be enough to save the sky? They called the sky above the mountains the freeway. Great jet streams ran like silver rivers between drifting islands of cloud. The Skyborn lived there, moving in fleets and outposts, hunting thunder whales and trading storm glass. The largest ship of them all was Eloria. It looked like a fallen star shaped into a vessel. Its hull glowed faintly at night. Its sails were stitched from phoenix feathers. In its belly burned sunfire, warm and steady like a captured dawn. A Lyra windrider stood at Eloria's rail and felt the sunfire in her chest. She was 27, quick with a smile and quicker with a wind knot or a daring turn. People both feared and admired her. They said she laughed like a thunderclap and smiled like clear morning. Her crew trusted her because she trusted the sky. The city below them, Vale glittered with runes. Its crystal towers caught the light and sent it someplace new each minute. Eloria rested above the city that afternoon, ropes loose, crew eating salted kelp and smoking thin pipes. Lyra was cleaning the helm when Soren climbed aboard. Soren was a wind priest. His robes flapped like frightened gulls, and his voice came out in gusts when he spoke. He did not look like a man who told easy stories. His hair was threaded with silver, and his hands had the calluses of someone who had tied runes onto weather lines for years. A Lyra windrider, he said, breathless from the climb, may the currents favor you. Lyra laughed. They always have, one way or another. Sit. Tell me why you run about Vale like a gale. He sat heavily on a coil of rope. She's awakened, he said. He looked at the horizon, as if expecting to see the end of all things. The Storm Queen. Naila. She stirs in the tempest maw. Lyra's fingers paused on the wheel. The Storm Queen is a bedtime tale. We tell it to quiet children who fear thunder. Soren's eyes sank into his face. No. The Skyborn ancients sealed her. That was 1,000 years ago. But bindings fray. Ships vanish in the southern gale. Stormglass cracks in silence. Last night I saw a face in the cloud ring, eyes like eddies. She watches. Lyra felt the word watch like a finger at the back of her neck. She had heard the tales, sung at long nights in taverns. A queen who could weave wind and lightning. A protector turned unforgiving. Lyra had never believed more in a tale than she did in her next breath. Still, the idea settled into her like a seed. Take me south, she said finally. To the Tempest Maw. Soren stared. Do you know what that place is? No ship has entered and returned by choice. I've steered Eloria through worse, Lyra replied. If she is anything like the stories claim, we will meet truth or ruin. Either way, I will know. Her crew argued softly. Some wanted to stay, old superstitions hold tight when the sky glowers. But sky-hardened folk crave a challenge. The ship's bosun, Mara, pounded the deck with a gloved fist and said, if we sail for legend, we sail together. 3 days later the old city was a pale memory. The Eloria rode a road of ripping air, phoenix sails boiling with heat and light. Soren stood near the prow, tracing runes in the air with thin fingers, calling the old words that anchored living things to place. He chanted while rain tried to climb the ship and lightning plucked at the mast. The crew hustled, tying and untying knots, checking the sunfire heart. The sky grew thick. Clouds gathered into a mouth. The tempest maw opened like a black well ahead of them. Wind screamed from it, sound folded over itself and came back more hungry. The air tasted of iron and salt and old sorrow. Omion and the crew, a young deckhand named Jory, whispered, the world is different here. Lyra's jaw set. Keep your hands ready. Keep your heads. The maw swallowed the light. A shape formed inside the spiraling dark. A figure taller than any person, crowned with a ring of braided lightning. She wore a robe of pressed rain clouds and cut silk, and thunder rolled like a low drum in the hem. Her skin shimmered with stormlight. Her eyes were twin cyclones. You dare enter my domain? Her voice rolled out and broke upon them, and ropes snapped in reply. Alira stepped forward. She smelled salt and ozone and the hint of roses drowned in rain. I dare, she answered, not with bluster but with the calm that sits under a sky's bravest tricks. The Storm Queen raised her hand, and the wind obeyed. She hurled lightning like spears that tried to dissect the Alluria's sails. The crew scattered to their stations. Sunfire flared, phoenix feathers smoked. Soren's chant nodded in the air, trying to weave a shield. The ship shook like a stubborn whale. Alira walked the deck as if on a slow drum. She did not draw a blade. She had none she trusted for this battle. Her weapon was something older, something the Skyborn often forgot. Song, she lifted her voice. It was a small thing at first, a thread of melody her grandmother had taught her as a child. The words were simple, names of ancestors, of stars that had fallen to make the ships whole, of queens who had once protected. The crew hushed. Even the storm seemed to tilt an ear. The queen snorted. You have music for metal? She asked, and lightning flared like a laugh. Alira sang louder. She did not shout, she did not plead. The song told the truth. It told how the Skyborn had once bound her in wind because fear and misunderstanding had been easier than listening. It told of a betrayal that had cut deep. Naila had risen to protect the storms against a plague of black rot that ate the winds from the inside. Ancients feared her methods. They bound her, and in the long knot of centuries, grief became fury and fury grew teeth. The queen's face shifted. For a heartbeat she was many things: storm, queen, woman. Memories trembled in her eyes. You remember, she said, voice thinning. You carry their blood, Windrider. Alira let the song soften to a single note. I do, she said. And I carry their shame. Soren's hands did not stop moving. He braided and unbraided runes, trying to steady the ship and steady the queen's rage at the same time. He whispered to Alira, hold to the old words. She remembers what was done, not why it was done. Alira thought of the sky she loved, how thunder could be a warning and lightning could cut a rope to save a life. She thought of storms that came in morning and storms that came in playful summers. The queen had been a protector once. A protector could, in grief, become a prison. Alira stepped onto a rise of the deck and held out her hand. The gesture was simple. A hand, offered. Not in triumph, not in fear. For what you were, and what you became, she said. I offer this hand. Not to bind you. To help you remember footing. For a long moment there was only the sound of wind sifting through rigging. The storm paused like a giant taking breath. Then, slowly, the queen lowered her arm. Stormlight trembled along her skin. Tears, if they could be called such, gathered in the corners of her cyclones and became rain that tasted of salt and of old iron. She stepped forward. Her form folded back into something smaller, more human. The crown of lightning dimmed to a diadem of silver threads. She took Alira's hand. The touch was cold, like the inside of a cave, and it warmed as if a hearth had been set there. I was Naila, she whispered, and the name was older than the sky. I guarded storms against rot and ruin. They feared me. They bound me. I remember pain, and so I taught the winds to remember pain. Alira tightened her fingers. Then teach them to remember better things, she said. Teach them to warn, and to clear, and to sing. The Storm Queen wept. The drops fell and did not destroy the deck or tear the sails.